The controversial sale by the government of the rooms on the beach property in St. Anne for a price significantly below market value could be examined by Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC. Last year, the PAAC had taken a look at the divestment of several properties owned by the Urban Development Corporation, UDC. However, it decided at the time not to discuss the rooms sale because the Contractor General was carrying out an investigation into the transaction. Chairman of the PAAC, Dr. Wickham McNeil, says now that the probe is complete, the matter should be revisited by the committee.
Now that the Contractor General's report is complete and has come back from the Integrity Commission and gone to Parliament, certainly it is something that would have to be put before the PAAC members to determine whether or not it's something that we should look at again, because there still are questions to be answered.
Last week, opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips called for the committee to look at the sale. He also wants an independent probe of the matter, which has revealed a split between the former Contractor General, Dirk Harrison, and the newly formed Integrity Commission. The rooms on the beach property and the Moon Palace beach lands were sold to Puerto Caribe Properties Limited for $7.2 million US. That price was $4.6 million below the lowest valuation. Mr. Harrison believes the intervention of Minister without Portfolio, Daryl Vaz, made the UDC unable to properly negotiate a price. However, the commissioners at the Integrity Commission said there was no basis for that conclusion. 2 girls drowned yesterday afternoon after reportedly going swimming in the sea at Bayshore Park close in Harborview, St. Andrew. They have been identified as 16-year-old Brianna Linton, a student of Clancarty High School, and her friend 15-year-old Shanique Thompson, who attended Dunoon Technical High School. Both resided at Jarrett Lane. An urgent appeal has come from President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, NAJ, Carmen Johnson, for the Ministry of Health to address the heavy psychological toll that trauma cases are having on nurses. Ms. Johnson noted that nurses are not immune to trauma, and this has affected the mental and emotional health of the nurses.
A misnomer that nurses have seen it all, we have experienced it, and so we are hard-hearted, and that it doesn't bother us. But as you look in this room, we have many of us, and those who are not here, who are traumatized, who experience emotional and mental challenges, because when we see the trauma from the violence that comes into the institution, it bothers them for weeks and for months. And when they can't sleep, they relive it. When they see flesh in front of them that should be living, it traumatizes them. And
the NAJ president says in order to address the issue, the ministry should provide access to comprehensive health services for all categories of health workers, including their family.
Wellness centers should be at all major facilities in every parishes. And these centers should be supported to ensure it is responsive to the needs of employees, not just nurses. The result is customer experience that's always been what it should be. There's reduced input and the absence of prolonged commitment. To be effective, there needs to be the creation.
The NAJ president was speaking at the celebration ceremony for International Nurses Day and the launch of National Nurses Week on Sunday at the Mona Visitors Lodge in Kingston. The government now has no choice but to sue O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rentals for its failure to fulfill a contract to provide used cars to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF. The matter was placed before mediation after O'Brien's failed to supply the vehicles after being paid more than $230 million. And despite being given several deadlines to deliver the vehicles as agreed during mediation, the JCF is yet to receive the complete order. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says it's time to move to the next step.
Where we have to go. We'll have to take him to the court. That's why I've been advised we have to go there, because he has not settled on the mediation agreement.
Detectives from the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch, CTOC, have also submitted a file to the Director of Public Prosecutions for her to rule whether criminal charges are to be laid in relation to the matter. That submission was made in March. Residents of Dumela District in Trelawney they say they wonder why they have been forgotten by their representative. Speaking with our news team over the weekend, the residents noted that the main road which leads into their district has been in a deplorable state for decades. They told our news team that the roads in that area has not been fixed since 1970.
Boy, the road went better off when the road was still like this. Better off man this. And now they say they fix the road. Fine at the 70s. No, fine at the 70s, come up to 80. Yeah, man, in the 70s.
So the road have not fixed since?
It was not fixed until now. I asked the question and said, who live down here so? Even not somebody. Oh, me just say everywhere in a town fix up.
The road have fixed one manly days from 1970. The manly fixed the road and from that nothing more come from the road. No water, water bust up. You ain't got the water but sometimes you have the TV water for them up and everybody got water in yards.
The two government, one the ball say, the one a response to the road, they have for 18 years. So you know see how comes, then fi come fix the road and us.
Another issue for the residents, taking their loved ones for health care.
Dead on the way, but sick of the road. Sick of the road, he said road there. Ain't dead on the way.
They say all they have been getting from their representatives are promises.
I'm promised, I'm not going to fulfill.
Scores of angry parents and workers of the Cumberland High School staged a protest outside the gates of the school to show their support for the current acting principal, Darian Henry, to be employed full-time in the capacity. They say since Mr. Henry has been at the institution, there has been a complete turnaround.
Him do a lot for the school. We never see a principal come here, come hug we up, big we up. We want him here.
What has the change?
Well, the children, them. One heap of work, principal, discipline, everything, and that's him.
Principal is a good principal. He's very strict. You understand? He makes sure that the youth them are very tired, right? Try to let them get a better education. You understand?
And him always come out here and sit with. That's them going to class. And always out there and say, come now, go in, come learn. Don't stay out there idle. You know? So we don't have to lose a man like that. And a man like that want to protect the children them.
When our news team contacted board chairman of the institution, he said he was unaware of the protest action. He, however, noted that the matter is up for discussion at the next board meeting slated for the end of this month. The government says it's on a mission to provide access to health care for all citizens. As we hear in this report from TVJ's Shane Masters, it could be a major aid in the government's thrust for poverty reduction.
There's a call for the health ministry to do much more to get a wider cross-section of the population to use modern medicine. It has been noted that currently a majority of the population still uses home remedies to treat illnesses. But according to Chairman for the National Health Insurance Plan, Dr. Damian King, there needs to be a significant shift. He says research has shown that the economy of a country can grow significantly if there is access to universal health care. A study conducted by Larry Summers, chief economist of the World Bank, shows that approximately 11% of the economic growth of some of the richest countries in the world was due to universal health care. Dr. King further pointed to other benefits of universal health care.
People are more forward-looking, and therefore households are more likely to invest if they have proper health coverage. When people don't have proper health coverage, then they tend not to invest as much in their children's education. They tend not to invest as much in their own skills training. And they tend to start fewer small businesses.
He also highlighted the benefits of the health plan in poverty reduction.
There's nothing that tips a marginal family into poverty more than absence of coverage for health care. Either because the cost of medical treatment is sufficiently catastrophic that it destroys the family's basis of wealth, or in the absence of having to cover that cost, then the illness or disease itself allows the breadwinner not to be able to work, and that tips a family into poverty.
Executive Director of Sanigest International, James Sercon, says for the plan to work, there needs to be a consensus across various sectors.
We can't start down this road without the doctors having some kind of idea of what's going to happen in terms of their remuneration, in terms of the patient flows, in terms of what this means of entering into a single-payer system. You know, we need many more people like Damien to understand and to ensure that this is not seen as an additional 1% of GDP that we're going to spend on healthcare, but this is seen as an investment in the Jamaican population that's going to have real returns.
As to the risk?
Try and get the best possible thing rather than trying to do something to start. Take too big a bite off the cherry. You know, people have been saying, you know, single payer may be a long way down the way, right? And I think that is the biggest risk, is to try and do the best thing that, you know, and just be paralyzed by the inability to do that. You know, the quickest way to do it is to start.
In the meantime, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has pointed to the way forward in opening the discussion on universal health care.
Is to engage the population, to get feedback, to provide justification, to explore options that may be available, to benchmark against best practices that currently exist globally, and ultimately to settle on a plan, on a program that provides the type of access that we all should wish for our population.
The gentlemen were speaking at a Capri forum titled Beyond No User Fees to National Health Insurance for All. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Dr. Tufton noted that while the no user fee policy, which was instituted in 2016 under the Jamaica Labour Party government, was necessary, it has highlighted a number of negatives within the public health sector.
The demands on the system over time became too much, and the pace of restructuring, adding capacity, did not keep up with those demands. And so I guess on the negative side, we were and have been slow in adjusting to the anticipated changes. But over time, I think we understood that we needed to make the adjustment. So a lesson learned is that we do need, equal to an ideal scenario of universal coverage, an equally important component of that plan as to how we finance it. And the no user fee policy was desirable, but the financing component was less than adequate.
For sports, we go now to cricket. At sports time, Bangladesh reached 226 for 4 after 44 overs, chasing 248 for victory against the West Indies in the Ireland Tri-Nation Series in Malahide. Now, Ashley Nurse took 3 for 53 for the Caribbean side. Batting first, the West Indies posted 247 for 9 from their 50 overs, with Shea Hope top scoring with 87. Skipper Jason Holder also chipped in with 62. Now, Mustafizur Rahman took 4 for 43 for Bangladesh. All-rounder Raymond Reefer is making his ODI debut as he came in for Shannon Gabriel. The West Indies are already through to the finals on Friday. And that wraps up the midday news. I'm Herman Green. Please join us at 7 for the primetime news package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.